The anomaly that should not exist, the dimensional fold, opened with mathematical precision, depositing archivist Lorian Kell's survey vessel exactly 0.3 astronomical units from the third planet of an unremarkable yellow star. His four eyes, two biological, two cybernetic, immediately began recording data while his secondary consciousness processed the preliminary scans his probe network had transmitted weeks earlier. Everything about this assignment felt wrong. Not dangerous, not threatening, just off. Lorian had cataloged 847 sentient species across his 3-century career with the Varan Collective. He understood patterns. He recognized trajectories. Every civilization followed predictable developmental paths, unified governance structures, coherent philosophical frameworks, measurable technological progressions. The mathematics of societal evolution were as reliable as stellar mechanics. Until now. Computer, he spoke into the crystalline air of his observation chamber. Display human governmental structure. The holographic projection filled the space before him with a chaotic web of interconnected nodes. Thousands of them. Nation-states they called themselves, each with its own laws, its own military, its own competing interests. Several possessed weapons capable of rendering their planet uninhabitable. They should have destroyed themselves already, Lorian muttered, his translator node flickering with his confusion. Display conflict intensity over the past standard century. The data made even less sense. Yes, there had been wars, two particularly devastating ones in their early atomic age, but the trend line was decreasing. Despite having thousands of independent military forces, despite possessing civilization, ending weapons, despite maintaining fundamentally opposed ideological systems, they were becoming more peaceful. Impossible. Lorian's academic training had prepared him for many scenarios, but mathematically impossible societal stability was not among them. He cycled through his analysis protocols 3 times, searching for errors in the data translation. The numbers remained stubbornly consistent. Reassign this anomaly to the xenosociology department, he began dictating into his official log, then paused. Something else nagged at his consciousness. A detail in the biometric scans that his subconscious had flagged but his primary awareness hadn't yet processed. He pulled up the planet's soul energy signature. His heart stopped. All 4 of them. That can't be right. Lorian's voice emerged as barely a whisper. His manipulator appendages trembled as he recalibrated the sensors, ran diagnostics, checked for equipment malfunction. The readings didn't change, and error than that. Earth's soul energy signature measured 847 terasouls per planetary unit. For context, a thriving death world. A planet where the environment itself was actively hostile, where survival pressures forged the strongest species in the galaxy. Typically registered between 200–400 terasouls. The Varan homeworld, cradle of one of the galaxy's most ancient civilizations, measured a respectable 520 terasouls. Earth measured 847. And it wasn't even classified as a death world. The humans called their planet moderate. They considered their gravity normal. They described their atmospheric conditions as comfortable. Their climate ranged from pleasantly warm to pleasantly cool, with occasional extremes that still fell well within class. Habitability parameters. There were no mega-predators hunting them. No toxic atmosphere requiring biological adaptation. No crushing gravity demanding enhanced bone density. No radiation levels forcing cellular redundancy. Earth was, by every environmental metric, an easy world. So why did it radiate soul energy like a compressed star? Lorian spent the next 6 hours in his observation chamber, cross-referencing every planetary classification in the collective's archives. He searched through records dating back 40,000 standard years. He consulted classification frameworks from 17 different academic traditions. Nothing matched. Death worlds produced strong species through brutal environmental selection. Paradise worlds produced content species through abundance and safety. Hazard worlds created specialized species adapted to unique dangers. Standard worlds generated balanced species with moderate capabilities. Earth fit none of these categories. The planet itself was benign, barely qualifying as challenging by galactic standards. Yet it produced humans with soul energy signatures, averaging 8.2 kilosouls per individual. For comparison, the average Varen measured 3.4 kilosouls. The dreaded Crusher warriors, products of a genuine death world with gravity 3 times standard, averaged 6.7 kilosouls. Humans, soft-bodied, fragile, living on a gentle world, somehow generated individual soul energy signatures that exceeded apex predator species from the most hostile environments in known space. This violates conservation of soul energy, Lorien said aloud, knowing his words would be recorded for the official report he would eventually have to file. The intensity of individual consciousness should correlate with environmental pressure. It's fundamental law. It's been verified across every documented species. He stopped. What if it wasn't the environment shaping them? What if it was them shaping the environment? The thought was ridiculous. Consciousness influenced reality at quantum scales, yes, but macro-scale environmental effects required either massive technological intervention or billions of high-intensity souls generating a collective field. Lorien pulled up population data. 8.2 billion humans, each radiating roughly 8 kilosouls. The mathematical product produced Earth's overwhelming 847 terasoul signature, not from the planet, but from the species itself. They weren't living on Earth. They were charging it. Computer, his voice steadied as academic fascination overwhelmed his shock. Create new classification category. Designation, GhostWorld. Definition, a planet where the collective consciousness, energy of the dominant species exceeds environmental baseline by a factor of 4.0 or greater, creating a soul energy field that... He paused, searching for accurate terminology. That lesser species cannot fully perceive or psychologically endure. The classification uploaded to his private research archive. In 3 centuries of archival work, Lorien Kell had never created a new planetary category. He stared at Earth, rotating peacefully in his holographic display, radiating its impossible energy signature. Humanity had no idea what they were, but the galaxy was about to find out. The weight of invisible fire, Lorien spent 3 days in orbit before he realized he was avoiding the inevitable. Landing protocols were straightforward. His ship possessed full diplomatic clearance from the United Nations, one of humanity's more influential governmental bodies, though calling it governing was generous given that member states routinely ignored its directives. He had authorization codes, translation matrices, even cultural briefing materials prepared by the handful of human liaison officers who'd been trained in basic galactic diplomacy. Everything was ready. Except him. This is irrational, he muttered, reviewing his biometric readings for the 4th time that hour. His stress indicators were elevated, not dangerously, but noticeably. His secondary consciousness kept flagging the inconsistency. He'd visited death worlds where the air itself was toxic, walked the surfaces of planets where radiation could kill unshielded organics in minutes, even observed the Crusher in their native gravity wells. None of that had made him hesitate. But the thought of landing on Earth, benign, moderate, comfortable Earth, made his manipulator appendages twitch with something uncomfortably close to fear. It's just a planet, he told himself. On behalf of the United Nations, we're honored to host the collective's first formal delegation. Lorien forced his translator to engage, his diplomatic training overriding his shock. The honor is mine, Secretary General. I bring greetings from the Varen Collective and look forward to learning about your remarkable species. The pleasantries continued. Introductions were made. Protocols were observed. Lorien performed his role adequately, though part of his consciousness remained focused on simply enduring the soul energy pressure. How do they live like this? The question repeated in his mind. How do they think clearly? How do they maintain individual identity when surrounded by billions of other burning minds? Then understanding struck with the force of revelation. They didn't need to maintain individual identity against the pressure. They were the pressure. Humans didn't live on a ghost world, despite their nature. Their nature created the ghost world. They evolved here, adapted to exist in an environment saturated with high-intensity consciousness. To them, this crushing weight of overlapping souls was baseline reality. They couldn't imagine existence any other way. Are you well, Archivist? Secretary General Chen's concerned voice broke his contemplation. You seem distracted. Lorian focused on her properly for the first time, really looking at her soul signature. She measured 8.4 kilosouls, above human average. Her consciousness pressed against his perception like a warm hand against cold glass, simultaneously foreign and fascinating. She had no idea how brightly she burned. None of them did. Simply adjusting to your world's unique characteristics. The gravity, she asked. Or some of our briefing materials suggested lighter worlds might be uncomfortable for Varan physiology. Not the gravity, Lorian said softly. Something else entirely. Something the galaxy needed to understand before it was too late. Before lesser species tried to visit Earth and broke themselves against the crushing weight of humanity's invisible fire. The species that dreams too loudly the conference room was located 17 floors below the surface. A security measure, Secretary General Chen explained, designed to protect sensitive diplomatic meetings from surveillance. Lorian didn't mention that his species had moved beyond primitive electromagnetic espionage millennia ago. He also didn't mention that being underground made the soul energy pressure worse. 17 floors of reinforced concrete and steel separated them from the sky. But there was no separation from the 8 billion human minds surrounding them on all sides. Down here, enclosed and concentrated, the weight of human consciousness felt like standing at the bottom of an ocean. We've prepared extensive briefing materials, Chen was saying, gesturing to a holographic display that was impressively sophisticated for such a young species. Population demographics, governmental structures, technological capabilities, cultural diversity indices. How many of you have nightmares? Lorian interrupted. The 6 humans exchanged glances. Ambassador O'Caffer, a tall man with precisely maintained formal attire, cleared his throat. I'm sorry, Archivist, but I'm not sure I understand the question's relevance to. Answer it, please. Lorian kept his voice gentle but firm. On average, how many humans experience recurring nightmares? Dr. Yuki Tanaka, introduced as a xenopsychology consultant, pulled up data on her tablet. Approximately 37% of adults report experiencing nightmares at least once per month. The percentage is higher in children, roughly 48%. Why does this and how many experience what you call intrusive thoughts? Unwanted mental images or ideas that seem to come from nowhere. Dr. Tanaka's fingers moved across her screen. That's harder to quantify. Various studies suggest anywhere from 70 to 94% of humans experience intrusive thoughts occasionally. It's considered a normal function of human consciousness. It's not, Lorian said quietly. The room fell silent. I've studied 847 sentient species, he continued. Intrusive thoughts, consciousness experiences that feel foreign to the self, are rare. Among the Varan, roughly 2% of the population experiences them, usually due to specific neurological conditions. Among most species, the percentage ranges from 1 to 5%. He pulled up his own holographic display, showing comparative data. Among humans, it's nearly universal. You've normalized it, categorized it as ordinary brain function, but it's not ordinary. It's extraordinary and deeply concerning. Secretary General Chen leaned forward. Archivist Kell, please explain what you're suggesting. Lorian organized his thoughts carefully. This was the moment, the point where he would either make them understand or lose their trust entirely. Your minds are too strong. Your individual consciousness burns with an intensity that exceeds every known baseline. An average human generates 8.2 kilosouls of soul energy. For context, I generate 3.1 kilosouls. My species has existed for 40,000 standard years. We are considered among the galaxy's most mentally developed civilizations. He paused, letting them process. You are more than twice as strong, and there are 8 billion of you living in close proximity, unconsciously broadcasting your thoughts and emotions into the local reality field. Broadcasting, Ambassador O'Caffer's skepticism was evident. Are you suggesting telepathy? Because I can assure you humans don't. Not telepathy, not conscious communication. Lorian pulled up the soul energy visualization, showing Earth as a blazing sphere of overlapping consciousness field. Your minds leak. Every thought, every emotion, every fear and hope radiates outward at the quantum level. Individually, the effect is negligible. But collectively, He highlighted population centers. New York blazed like a small sun. Tokyo burned even brighter. Mumbai, Delhi, Shanghai, each megacity created density spikes in the consciousness field that would have been classified as hazardous psychic phenomena on any other world. You were drowning in each other's thoughts, Lorien said. Constantly, from birth until death. You experience humanity's collective unconscious as intrusive thoughts. Random fears that aren't yours. Sudden anxieties with no source. Nightmares built from images you've never seen. You call it normal because you have no frame of reference. You've never experienced mental silence. Dr. Tanaka's hand trembled slightly as she set down her tablet. That would explain certain psychological phenomena we've never fully understood. The universality of certain phobias, the cross-cultural consistency of specific nightmare archetypes. She stopped. If this is true, why aren't we all completely insane? Because you evolved here, Lorien said. Your species developed psychological immune systems, mental filtering capabilities that let you distinguish self from other, even in impossible conditions. What would shatter a Varan's consciousness you process automatically? You are, neurologically speaking, the most resilient sapient species I've ever encountered. That sounds like a compliment, Chen observed carefully. It's an observation and a warning. Lorien dimmed the holographic display, meeting each human's eyes in turn. The Galactic Council operates on principles established over millennia. One such principle is graduated contact, introducing young species to the broader civilization slowly, giving them time to adapt. But your situation is unprecedented. He pulled up projections showing human expansion patterns based on their current technological trajectory. Within 2 centuries, you will have the capability for faster-than-light travel. You will begin establishing colonies beyond your system. You will meet other species face-to-face, not through carefully managed diplomatic channels. The projections showed human colonies spreading across nearby star systems, and wherever they went, the soul energy density followed, concentrated pockets of burning human consciousness. Other species will not be able to tolerate your presence, Lorien said bluntly. Not because you're hostile, not because you're dangerous in any conventional sense, but because being near large groups of humans will be psychologically overwhelming for species with normal consciousness intensity. Ambassador Akefer straightened. Are you saying the galaxy will quarantine us? Restrict human expansion because our minds are too loud? I'm saying the Council doesn't know what to do with you, Lorien admitted. I was sent here to categorize Earth according to standard classification systems. But you don't fit. You're not a Death World species. You're too peaceful. You're not a Paradise World species. You're too driven. You're not a standard development species. You're too chaotic. He took a deep breath. I'm creating a new classification. GhostWorld. A planet where the dominant species' collective consciousness exceeds environmental baselines by extreme margins. A world where the inhabitants burn so brightly they reshape local reality without knowing it. A species that dreams too loudly for the galaxy to sleep near. The silence stretched for several seconds. And how does the Council typically respond to new classifications? Chen asked quietly. Cautiously, Lorien said, very cautiously, because classifications determine rights, restrictions, and interaction protocols for centuries to come. He looked at each of them again, seeing past their physical forms to the blazing souls beneath. The galaxy will fear you, he said. Not for your weapons or your ambitions. They will fear you because you are too much, too intense, too impossibly conscious in ways that shouldn't be possible. Then what do we do? Dr. Tanaka asked. Lorien considered the question carefully. Outside, 8 billion humans continued their lives unconsciously radiating soul energy that would terrify half the known civilizations. You prepare, he finally said, for first contact with species who will see you as beautiful, terrifying, and completely unprecedented. And you? Chen asked. What will you tell the Council? Lorien thought about his report, the document that would determine humanity's place in galactic civilization. The truth, he said. I hope they're ready for it.